Hi everybody and welcome to another edition of TEMA Talk, the fast-paced BS-free zone with smart, fun and educational conversations with entrepreneurs and experts from around the globe who have all come together to share their stories and thoughts to help you grow your business. Our guest today is Klein. He's no ordinary man, he's one who accomplishes the extraordinary. He's a problem solver in every way. Every solution Ron has come up with has resulted in monumental change, either in new inventions or a simple solution. His innovative ideas have literally changed the world. Got a credit card in your pocket? I know you have. He's the inventor of the magnetic strip on the back of your credit card. He also invented the credit card validation checking system. That's a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
And the developer of the computerized systems for real estate, the MLS. So every time you list your home and you see it listed all over the country or all over the world, this is the man that did it. He's also responsible for the voice response systems for the banking industry and bond quotation and trade information on the New York exchange, the stock exchange. Ron's latest patent is for a device that enables the visually impaired the ability to identify an item when it's in physical range of that item, when they're in physical range of that item, and it utilizes smartphone and specially coded adhesive labels. Ron, welcome to TEMA Talk.
Thank you so much, Carl. That's quite an introduction.
It was.
I really appreciate that. Wow.
It's my pleasure, man. Now, you and I, we go back a fair way, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We've mixed it a couple of times, right?
Okay. We have.
So, and we also, it's fair to say, I think we come from literally the opposite end of spectrums. I'm a very flamboyant, creative guy. You are a very analytical, process-driven systems guy. Is that fair?
That's fair, but I do like to spread cheer.
No, I'm not. I didn't say you were a misery, right? I just said it's the way, you know.
It's the way I think.
It's the left and the right brain scenario, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So here's what I want to talk about with you today, Ron. I want to have this conversation that's all about the process of inventing, because you don't get up of a morning and go, I know what we need is a little piece of plastic, 2 inches by 1.5 inches, and I need to put a magnetic strip across the back so everybody's wife or husband can go out shopping and go crazy, right?
Right.
What's the process, Ron? How do you come up with this stuff?
So I'm really not an inventor. I'm an innovator that solves problems.
Okay.
Okay, so I look at it that way.
Right.
The credit card thing was probably the simplest challenge I ever had in my career. But first, I do it by one greatest methodology. I simplify everything, and I live by a philosophy of you have to be smart, daring, and different. And when I say smart, that doesn't mean a PhD from Harvard.
Right.
Smart means pay attention, learn something new every day, speak with everyone, measure and consider everything as valid knowledge and information. And then the other thing is to be daring. Don't be afraid to make a mistake, because there's not a successful person around that hasn't made mistakes. And I say it in a funny way where if you painted something the wrong color the first time, paint it a different color. Okay? There's only plan A. And the most important thing in being different, the last philosophy of mine, is it must provide a benefit. Whatever you do, whatever you approach, must provide a benefit. If it doesn't provide a benefit, you're performing a hobby.
Right.
And that's my philosophy. And the way you identify challenges is to say every problem can be considered to be a challenge. And with a challenge, there's a given and there's a solution you're looking for. Everything else in between is the journey. And in that journey, in the minutia, comes some very interesting things and thoughts from time to time. But you never lose sight as to what's the given that you're working with and what's the solution you're looking for. And then I can really amplify that by saying the credit card magnetic strip was the simplest challenge I ever had. And let me explain to you how it came to me. A director of a major department store in 1966 came to me and said, Ron, it takes too long to make a charge purchase That's what they called them then,
Right.
charge purchase.
Yeah.
And the authorization, that burden is on the wrong person. It's on the merchant. It shouldn't be on the merchant.
Right.
What can you do? And I said, pretty simple. So I have to speed up the process and take the responsibility away from the merchant.
Right.
Now I can.
Now this was back in the day when we had the old ching machine, right? When we had the run the card across, right?
What he had to do was really difficult, Carl, because he had every month the credit card companies would submit to every merchant a big thick book of all the negative account numbers.
Right.
And he would have to say, okay, I'm going to cha-ching that thing and write up a sales slip, but first I have to see if your number's in the book. And he'd have to go down chronologically in order, a big book to see if your credit card number was in there, because the credit card at that time was just a piece of plastic with your name embossed on it and the number embossed on it. Well, that took a long time. And I figured, that's simple. In 1966, what can I do? There was no internet. There wasn't anything other than big magnetic drums that you can store information. So I said, every month, let's just store all that information that came in the book on the big magnetic drum. Okay. Then give the merchant a little keypad, and he would key in the account number. And if it didn't come up on the drum, it was good to go. Well, it speeded up the process of him having to look through the numbers, but he was still responsible for keying in the account number. Could make mistakes. And right around that time, reel-to-reel tape recorders came out. And I said, wow, I know how that works. You can record music, you can record songs, you can record voice. If I took a little piece of that tape, recorded the account number on it, then built a little box that mimics a tape recorder, a tape reader, and make you the motor and slide that little portion of the credit card tape through the little reader device, it would work. The only situation I had was, and here's where I had to be the engineer, everybody slides that tape through at a different speed. Remember, you'd push it in slow and pull it out fast.
Yeah.
And that could cause a problem because, well, how are you going to read that information? And I knew, because of my technical background, that teletype machines worked real well because they looked at things where they would say the first little thing on the piece of tape would be start information. It would be a start character. And then when it's finished with the information, it would be a stop. So what I did was I took the piece of tape, recorded the account number on it, and then I said, in front of the account number, put a start signal. And then at the end of the account number, put a stop signal. So I don't care how fast you push it through. Once you see the start, I'd say, okay, now the rest of it is information. And then when it's finished, the stop. And that's the way I invented that. If I didn't know how to do it myself, being an engineer, I would have hired somebody. Right. And that was the invention of the magnetic strip on the credit card. Now, it goes one step further. I applied for the patent in 1966. It was awarded in 1969. In this world of obsolescence, why is that still a valid function? I mean, so many years later. And I keep saying to my audiences when I speak about this, do you have any ideas? And they say, oh yeah, well, it's accurate, it's convenient, it's so on and so forth. The answer is, it doesn't require energy because it's just a piece of magnetic information. Right. If it doesn't require energy, it can't radiate, it can't transmit. Right. So there was never fraudulence at the point of sale. If there was fraudulence, it was the man in the middle or at the server. Right. In today's life, we have a chip. Right. It's nice the way it calculates a new algorithm and so on and so forth, but that chip can be energized with a scanner, or when you plug it into the machine, it now becomes a transmitter. So somebody in line behind you can compromise it. But that's a whole different subject. But right. That's the invention of the magnetic strip on the credit card. Right. Lots of logic, lots of thinking, lots of simplicity to the extent in which I could, and solving the problem, not going like this. What can I invent today? Right. Now, you said something really interesting. Well, you said lots of things that are really interesting. But the one thing that immediately jumped out at me, you said, and if I didn't know how to fix it, I'd go find somebody that could. Right. I would explain the challenge to them.
right,
And I'd say, here's the challenge. This is what I want to fix. Because remember with tape recorders, the old real tape recorders, they had two motors that kept it at a constant speed. If you would speed it up, it sounded like Mickey Mouse. If you would slow it down, it would sound like Dracula. Same thing with that little strip. When you're the motor, okay,
right,
if you're not keeping it at a constant speed, it couldn't read the information. I solved that by saying start and stop.
right. But
If I didn't know how to do it, I would have hired an engineer.
right, and that's the nub of my question now, and that is, do you often in your inventing process, do you often, is it a collaborative thing? Is it Ron plus an engineer plus a designer plus a whatever? Is it collaborative?
You know, it's interesting. When you give or when you receive, you listen to advice, you ignore opinions. Opinions come from Aunt Martha, who's never did it before and
Right,
has no idea as to why you should do it and says, that'll never work.
right,
Okay.
yeah,
Advice or counsel is by somebody that has intelligence and can offer you good direction.
right. Excellent
You
answer.
seek counsel, you avoid opinions.
All right, I got it. I got it. And of course the council, like everything, and I always say, is it's a, you validate that by the person that's giving it to you, right? You know, because
Exactly.
everybody's got an opinion, right? And everybody's a
Yeah.
Monday morning quarterback. Everybody knows how it should have been done.
You seek out credibility, and based on the credibility is how you value the counsel.
Right. So how did your latest device come around? Because Ron, I don't think you're going to be offended if I say, you know, you're a mature guy, a senior guy, and you're still cranking
Very.
it out. You're still cranking it out. I mean, you outrun
Carl,
me every day.
Carl, I'm not empty yet. You know, I had a choice. I did fail at retirement 3 times. And the first time I retired, I was very young, and that lasted 3 days. I had sold my public company,
Right.
and then I started another company, and I sold that after 36 years. And then I started another enterprise, and I realized when I came to Florida, I had 2 choices. I could move to a senior community, and at the senior community play bingo and wait around to die, or I could say, and I'm
I'm
not a
sorry,
good bingo
but of
player.
all the things I know about you, I just cannot see that happening, man.
Well,
You
that's
would
why I failed.
you'd be up there saying, "Give me that machine. I can make that. I can get those balls out that machine quicker."
Well, here's what happened. I was having breakfast with. I was always interested in the visually impaired. I have a sight problem myself,
Right.
and I was always interested in helping the visually impaired and the deaf. And with the visually impaired, I have a very, very dear friend who is totally blind and very intelligent, as a PhD. And I had breakfast with him one morning and I said, what's on your wish list? And he said, I'd love to have something simple that I can help, that would help me identify those things that I come in contact with in my daily life. I said, let me think about that. That's a great challenge. And I'm always looking for a challenge. Well, just around that time, this was a few years back, I learned everything about the little QR codes. That's that little thing that looks like a postage stamp. It's a 2-dimensional code. Very interesting, and it's open source.
Right.
Okay? It was patented, but it was patented with an open source. So there's absolutely no problem in using it. And I figured, I've got a great idea. If I could enhance that QR code somewhat and have an app on a cell phone that everybody has, because a cell phone is nothing more than, I call it a cell phone, this thing, but you know what it is? It's an electronic leash.
Right.
Okay, that's really what it is. So, and I'm going to plug it back in. So I said, I can come up with this app that if I take these little labels, adhesive, and have the blind person paste it on what they are familiar with. For instance, a book, they'll paste it on the upper left-hand corner. If it's their CD, they can paste it in the center of the CD so they always know where it is. If it's in their medicine cabinet, they can paste it on the lid of every medication and then lay it down so they can read it. And then have the app where they can point the app at that little label and record what that label is. For instance, they would know when they got that medication, it was their blood pressure medication.
Right.
So they take that, point the phone at it, say, this is my blood pressure medication, and I got it such and such date. Okay, now it's on that label. The label is programmable and they can re-record it as many times as they want.
Okay.
Okay, so the label is just permanent. The label is permanent, but the recording can be varied. Same thing with what they put into their medicine or into their cupboard for food. They can put their peanut butter jar, their jellies or whatever, and they can record that. Or what's in the box. They can put something in the box and re-record it at any time. And how do they work it? They take their finger and put it on the label once they know where it is, in the left-hand corner or wherever, put their phone on top of it, slide their finger away, and gently raise their phone, and boom, it comes on and talks to them.
Okay.
And it was such a simple invention. And I discovered there are 240 million visually impaired people in the world, and there's 42 million in this country. And I said, geez, if I could just help my friend, I would be happy. What a wonderful idea. So I applied for a patent. I did the provisional patent on it, applied for the patent and got the idea. And I started putting it out there, and I'm helping thousands of people.
It's fantastic. How many patents do you have, Ron?
I don't know, quite a few. So then the best
If you tell
thing,
me you got to
Cal,
kill me, right?
I have quite a few.
Right.
But I do that to protect I do that so I can license others so they can do the same thing.
Right.
And I figured, geez, what a great idea. If it's helping the visually impaired, if I could take that same concept and put the information in the cloud and then take that QR code, and if I generate it where I say I can put that on products, I can put it in catalogs. Just think about a catalog where it just has the supplier's name and all of the products that the supplier provides.
Right.
And the B2B buyer looks at that, says, oh, okay, I'll buy one of those because I like the name of it, whatever it is.
Right.
If it's natural foods or whatever. And I figured, what if I would put a little QR code next to that name, and the buyer now scans that QR code and it takes them to the cloud, and I have an infinite number of products and descriptions of everything that does. So what it is, it's a QR code that takes you to a location, a simple location with anything you want to put in that location. YouTube's, videos, messages, and so on and so forth. So it's an easy scan, and I take you where I want you to go.
Right.
And some people will say, well, how is that different from a website? Well, a website, you have to type in a URL, okay, or a QR code to take you to the website. And then once you're in the website, now you have to scan around. I want to take you where I want you to go.
Right.
And if you want to make a change on that website, you need a webmaster. Mine is just copy and paste.
Right.
Copy something, paste it. Anybody can be an expert. So just thinking about it from a standpoint of a catalog, what a great invention.
Right.
And we're doing that now, and it's solving lots of problems.
Right. So you came out with the we again. You used the we word again. So I'm going to come back to, it brings me almost dovetails into my earlier question. You're clearly an ideas machine. So how does Ron bring it to market? And because I mean, your visually impaired QR code system. How did that get to market?
Everything I do with an idea in mind as to how do I solve that challenge. I won't call it a problem. No. If you find anything that's a problem in the dictionary, rip that page out and highlight the word that says challenge. So I look at everything as a challenge, and I say, in that challenge, I can solve a situation or an issue. To carry it further, the innovation comes from the potential user, okay? Because everything that I've talked about, for instance, I took the thing for the visually impaired, and I gave that to a few people, And I said, what else can you do with this device that takes a little sticky label, it records, and then you can have basically information on that recording, and you can change it any way you want. And I took it to a moving company.
Right.
And the moving company says, wow, that's a great idea, Ron. I think we can use it in our business. Oh, how can you use that? Well, if we put that label on our box and now somebody wants to move, as they're packing that box, they take their cell phone, they scan the label, and as they're throwing their junk in the box, they can say, this is my kitchen knives, this is that, and so on and so forth. They seal the box up. The box gets to the destination. And now when they're at the destination, they take their phone and they say, what's in that box? And what's in that box? Simple innovation.
Right.
And everything I've ever come up with, more and more people are coming up with the solution being innovative. And that's how it gets to market. And I took this to a natural products organization that said, what a great idea for us to put it in our catalog, because the catalog and the distributor is distributing thousands and thousands of suppliers' information. And all we put in our catalog is the supplier's name and all of the products that they have underneath it, and its price. And companies like Whole Foods or whoever's buying this stuff looks at the catalog and says, that sounds pretty good. How do I look that up? Who should I call and find out what are the attributes about that product before I buy it? Now they don't have to do that. They take their computer or their phone, which is the electronic leash, okay? And they scan that company's product QR code, and now it takes them to a location with everything about the products. And they say, great, we want one of those.
Right.
The innovation comes from the potential user.
I'm hearing you, Ron. So we all know technology drives everything today, and you've been talking about it a lot on the show. Not necessarily what's coming from Ron, but what do you think we've got coming real soon? You know, it was only a few years ago when it was only Dick Tracy that had a video on his phone, you know, but today we've all got it, right? What do you think is just around the corner, Ron? What do you think's coming?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, here's the way it works. Goldfish have an attention span of 9 seconds. The millennials that represent 75% of the marketplace have an attention span of 8 seconds.
Right. Oops.
So whatever which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not a derogatory remark, which means that if you can't deliver your message of quality, of what you have to offer, counsel, innovative things, if you can't deliver that in the first 8 seconds that you speak or deliver your marketing information to a millennial, you're going to lose them, because you'll never get them to follow anything after that. The world is coming to this device, which is the electronic leash. Everything is going to be mobile. I see this coming. I spoke about this years ago, back in 1983, to the colleges as to automated banking and so on and so forth. And everything I saw in the future is now. And what I'm seeing is that everything is going to be totally artificial intelligence and mobile technology, where nobody's going to look up anything in the Webster dictionary anymore. You either Google it or you don't. I mean, everything is out there for information on the electronic leash. That's going to be the most intelligent way of communicating. Unfortunately, I think brick and mortar is going to disappear. Distribution centers will survive. I see so much change coming about. I see the possibility of restaurants lots of restaurants are going to survive. Lots of the smaller restaurants are going to be looking to join into a common facility where they do their cooking and have distribution and delivery service. Right. Why have all that overhead of bringing people in and sitting at your restaurant and cooking the food and delivering it there and having all the overhead that goes along with that. They're seeing right now those restaurants that are surviving, they're surviving with the chef and a facility to cook and a delivery service.
Right.
Well, why pay the overhead of the restaurant if you can have that shared common in one building where everybody's cooking in that one building? Now you're only paying rent for the space where you cook. I mean, that's just the kind of ideas that come out of my head.
Right.
But so I'm going to see a world of automation, and I'm going to see the automation coming from the millennials, which I fall in that category because I'm a senior millennial. The lesser millennials today.
Yeah.
They're going to come up with these innovative ideas of utilizing the current technology, which is out there, and saying, look what we can do with that and how innovative we can be. And this is going to be the wave of the future.
Right. Ron, we're getting towards the last few minutes of our interview. And I just want to ask you a few fun, quick fire questions.
Sure.
And let's find out a little bit more about the other side of Ron. What's your favorite cocktail, Ron?
I don't drink any alcohol.
There you go. Favorite quote?
Simplicity.
Okay. Favorite hit?
No, I have one other thing.
Yeah.
My favorite quote is, I refuse to have a battle of wits with an unarmed person.
All right. Favorite hero of fiction?
That's tough.
All right. Favorite business book?
2. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
And I also love 3 Feet from Gold, which is Greg Reed.
Okay. What do you consider is the most overrated virtue?
Complication.
All right. If you could have another talent, what would it be?
Well, I have all the talents I love myself. I can sing, and I can play the guitar, and I can think. I don't need anything else.
I love it. I love it. What's your favorite business word?
Benefit.
And what's your least favorite business word?
I guess.
Okay. What's the most thing that you value in a friend or a business colleague? What's the attribute that you find most valuable in a friend or
credibility and honesty?
Credibility and honesty.
Relationship, yeah.
Right.
Which is honesty.
Excellent. Last question for you. If this program could connect you with anybody, president, potentate, prime minister, pauper, doesn't matter who, rich man, poor man, beggar man, whoever, if this program could reach one person for you, who would you like it to reach? Who would you like to see it and get in contact with you?
The person that would listen and apply.
Contact him now. Contact him right now. So Ron, if somebody does want to get hold of you, how do they do it?
Well, I'd love for them to go on my website. It's thegrandfatherofpossibilities.com. And I'll even give you my cell phone number if you'd like a quick 15-minute conversation, if you have something that you'd like to apply. And my cell phone is 941-374-5739. If you have something of value to call me and talk to me about, please do.
Ron, I can't thank you enough, man. That's it, everybody. Another 30 minutes of business banter and badinage has gone. I can listen to this guy all day. I don't know about you. Thanks to our guest, Ron Klein. Please contact him. Go check out his website. Follow him on Facebook and on LinkedIn, on all the social medias. You will not regret it. I want to thank Guerrilla Media for working their magic to make all of this happen. And I want to thank you for watching or listening. And don't forget, you can visit TEMA's Video Vault of Wisdom on thirdeyemanagement.com, where you can share and listen to all the other TEMA talks, all the episodes that contain all the strategies and tactics that you need to grow your business. So until the next time, I want you to stay safe. I want you to stay happy. I want you to stay in touch. But most importantly, I want you to stay profitable. We'll see you next time. Take care.